Imagine that tomorrow morning, someone walks up to you and says, "I want to sell you the Taj Mahal." You would probably laugh it off. But in 1925, there was a man who convinced the world that even the impossible could become reality. This is not the plot of a movie. It is the true story of one of history's smartest and most dangerous con artists, Victor Lustig. He was the man who sold France's most iconic landmark, the Eiffel Tower, not once, but twice. The most astonishing part is that his victims were not ordinary people. They were some of France's biggest scrap metal dealers. They paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, signed official-looking legal documents, and by the time they realized they had been deceived, Victor had already disappeared from Europe. The year was 1925. The First World War had ended and France was struggling to rebuild its economy. At the same time, the Eiffel Tower had become an enormous financial burden for the government. Newspapers were filled with reports about the soaring maintenance costs of the monument. Some experts even suggested that the government might eventually decide to demolish it. While most people dismissed these reports as mere rumors, Victor Lustig saw in them the greatest opportunity of his life. Victor was no ordinary swindler. He had an extraordinary ability to understand how people thought, what they desired, and where their weaknesses lay. Every morning, instead of searching newspapers for business opportunities, he studied people's fears, hopes, and emotions. The moment he came across the news about the rising maintenance costs of the Eiffel Tower, he devised a plan that would go down as one of the greatest frauds in history. Within a few days, he had prepared forged documents that looked exactly like official government papers. They were so convincing that almost no one had any reason to question their authenticity. He then invited 6 of Paris's largest scrap metal dealers to a luxurious hotel for what appeared to be a highly confidential government meeting. Every one of them believed they had been selected by the French government for a secret project of national importance. During the meeting, Victor skillfully awakened the 2 most powerful emotions in the minds of the businessmen: greed and FOMO, the fear of missing out. He hinted that the government now considered the Eiffel Tower a financial burden and was seriously thinking about dismantling it. He also claimed that this extraordinary opportunity was being offered only to a select few. That single statement was enough to convince every businessman in the room that if the deal was genuine, they had to secure it before anyone else did. Victor did not actually sell the Eiffel Tower. What he truly sold was an illusion, built upon human psychology, ambition, and greed. By understanding exactly how people think and what motivates them, he manipulated their emotions and trapped them in one of the most extraordinary scams ever carried out. For the second time, Victor's plan was almost identical to the first. Once again, he created the same convincing atmosphere, posed as a government official, and exploited people's greed and their fear of missing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Astonishingly, another businessman fell into his trap. But this time, luck was no longer on Victor's side. The new victim sensed that something was wrong and contacted the police. By the time the authorities took action, Victor had already fled France once again and made his way to the United States. Even after arriving in America, Victor spent years evading the law through his cleverness and a series of false identities. He constantly reinvented himself and continued deceiving people using different schemes. But like every criminal, his luck could not last forever? In 1935, his long run finally came to an end. American authorities arrested him, bringing his extraordinary criminal career to a close. However, Victor Lustig's story is not just the story of a con artist. It is also a story about understanding human psychology. He never defeated people with weapons of force. Instead, he manipulated their greed, ambition, and fear. Through his actions, he proved that every great scam begins not with the product, but with the human mind. Even today, the same lesson applies to the stock market, cryptocurrency, real estate, and almost every form of investment. Whenever an opportunity appears so extraordinary that the fear of missing it prevents you from thinking clearly, when greed and FOMO overpower logic, even the smartest person can make a devastating mistake. That is why the next time someone tells you that an investment is the greatest opportunity of your life and that it is available only for today, pause for a moment before making any decision. Remember the story of Victor Lustig. He did not simply convince people that he could sell the Eiffel Tower. He manipulated their thoughts, emotions, and psychology to carry out one of the most unbelievable frauds in history. That is precisely why, even after nearly a century, Victor Lustig is still remembered as one of the greatest con artists the world has ever known. His story reminds us that before trusting any investment or opportunity, the most important things are to verify the facts. Keep your emotions under control and never make decisions driven solely by greed or fear.